Hello, this is Matthew Sweeney. My presentation is on SQL Joins. So the purpose of joins is so that we can query data from multiple tables. So relational databases keep the data in separate tables. Hello, this is Matthew Sweeney. My presentation is on SQL Joins. So relational databases allow the user to separate data into related tables. But what if we want to query data from more than one table? For that, we'll need a join statement. So the many types of SQL joins available, probably the most used are equijoins. And equijoins are those joins whose join criteria is based on the relationship between a column in one table and another column in another table. What I mean by join criteria will be explained slightly later. And there are a variety of equijoins, including inner joins, outer joins, left outer joins, and right outer joins. And I'll go through those as we continue. So to illustrate my point, I'm going to use some Venn diagrams here. So A would be data in one table, and then B would be data in a different table. And I'll illustrate the joins using those Venn diagrams. So an inner join would be the matching rows between the two tables based on the join criteria. So the syntax for the inner join is on the left here. So you select whatever data fields you want to return from the table, and then inner join the second table on some join criteria. So comparing some column in A to a column in B is what I have here. So it's important to keep in mind that the join criteria is not necessarily the data you want to return. I mean, we could, for example, have A be a bunch of products and B be a separate group of products, and the join criteria could actually just be the SQL or the serial numbers, and then you could return product names or something. So it's just the criteria on which you want to return a specific other field. So the outer join is similar, but it still uses that equivalency join criteria, but it'll return members that are also outside of the intersection. So it'll return data in A even though it doesn't match anything in B, and likewise data in B doesn't match data in A. And MySQL doesn't support a full outer join syntax, but there are other similar outer joins that are supported. One of which is the left outer join. So this one is the returns the members of the intersection and also everything to the left of the join. And so by that I mean from the syntax here, which is very similar to the inner join, you'd say from table A, left join B. So it would return everything to the left of A, regardless of whether it matches the join criteria with B. And I'll show you an example of that because it's a little bit hard to picture. And the right outer join is the exact same, except for it's to the right of the join criteria. So you might ask what the purpose of that is, and the purpose is to, or one of the purposes of the left and right outer joins is for cleaning up data that doesn't match something. So like I said, it'll return data that doesn't necessarily match the other the join criteria. So it can help you show what things are maybe left out if you wanted everything to match something. And in fact, you can even filter all the inner join portion completely and just show the outer portions. So using the Guitar 2 database in our sample code that we have for this course, This is some sample code that will return something based on the inner join, and then here's some for the left join. And I'm going to show you that actually right now in the my PHP admin tool. So I'm actually going to come out of the presentation and show you that. So if we go to here, and this is just, like I said, guitar 2. I'm just going to paste that in to the SQL query this thing here. So I'm trying to search for first name, last name from the customer database right here, or the customer table rather, and then also show line A or line 1, which is the address from the address table. And then the join criteria is where the customer IDs match from the two. So let's go. And here's the result. So it's giving me 2 because there are actually 2 entries for the in the customer table. So it'll give me the first name and last name from the customer table, and then for each of those, it'll add the data or the address line for that. So that's kind of how an inner join will work, and then showing you a left join. So it's a little bit different. So it's the same. Hello, this is Matthew Sweeney. My presentation is on SQL Joins. So relational databases allow the user to separate data into related tables. But the question then becomes, what do we do if we want to query data from more than one table? And in order to do that, we need to make use of joins. So there are many types of joins available, and I'm going to focus on one of the more popular ones called equijoins. And equijoins are those joins whose join criteria is based on the relationship between a column in one table and another column in another table. And there are a variety of equijoins, including inner joins, outer joins, left outer joins, and right outer joins. And I'm going to go through those in this presentation. So in order to do that, I'm going to show these Venn diagrams as kind of example. I think we're mostly familiar with Venn diagrams, but if you're not, it's basically just data in A and then data in B, and where they overlap, or where the data would be the same, that's shared between the two. So an inner join is the matching rows between A and B. And the syntax for that is shown here on the left. So they select whatever kind of fields you want to return from the query, and then from the table, and then inner join the second table on, and then this is the join criteria. So here it's just column from table A equals column from table B. And it's important to keep in mind that that's not necessarily the data you want to return from the query. It's just the criteria under which the rows will be returned. So it'll be the rows that match between A and B when that criteria matches. So for example, you could have maybe an item in table A and then something else in table B, another item, and you could match it on maybe a serial number or an item ID or something. But what you really want to return is the item name. So it's just the basis by which the rows are returned in the query. And the outer join is similar, but it also returns members of the intersection of the two rows, but also members that don't match, that don't satisfy the join criteria. And so MySQL does not support the full outer join, which is what I was just described. But there are other outer joins that are supported. And one of those would be the left outer join. So this one returns members of the intersection, but also everything to the left of the join. So by that I mean from the syntax, from table A, left join B. So everything to the left of the join, meaning everything from A, even if it doesn't match. It'll return a row, but it'll just have a null in whatever doesn't match in B. And I'll illustrate that at the end. So the right outer join is the exact same as the left outer join, but just everything to the right of the join. And the purpose of these left and right outer joins, one of the purposes at least, is that they're useful for cleaning up data and finding data that does not have a match in a corresponding table. So, like I said, it'll still return a row for whatever it is in the left or right, depending on which join you're using, and it just won't show a different matching corresponding data from the other table. So it can show you maybe rows that are supposed to have a corresponding row, but that don't. And so here is some of the sample code from the guitar 2 database from our text, from the database that we're using for our text. And then here, this is showing an inner join, returning the first, last, and address lines. And then this one shows the product name and the item price with a left join. So I'm just going to show you kind of how those would, what kind of results would come from those. So I'm going to actually leave the presentation to go into the my PHP MyAdmin. So this is the inner join, and we see we have the three fields that I want to return from the address table inner joined to the customer table on the customer ID column. So this will return, and you can see that actually returns duplicates here because the customer table actually has that many in it. So it'll return them and then match the corresponding address line from the address table. So it'll return these ones. You can also, if we go back to the left join now, we can show you this one. This one will return, and as we see, we have the product name and item price. Now the product name has more products in it than there are items, so we're joining it on the product ID column. And there's going to be basically more products than there are items. So you can see that it'll match the ones that do match. These are ones where the item price from the order items table matches to these products. But then there are products that don't have an order item to it. So these ones right here, nobody's ordered those. So they're just showing up as null on this side. So that's kind of how the SQL joins work. It sometimes takes a little practice to get used to which data you're meaning to get, and it's actually returning that data. But after you get a hang of it, it's really useful for returning more data than just from one table at a time. All right, thank you.